Right now at 6, the Iowa caucuses. Republican candidates face their first test to becoming the party's presidential nominee. And protecting your pets in the bitter cold. A local veterinarian shares recommendations on how to keep them safe.
You're watching WKBT La Crosse. This is News 8 Now at 6.
Good evening and thank you for watching News 8 Now at 6. I'm Emily Brown. Ken is on assignment. Well, it's sunny and cold, sub-zero temperatures, and we're under a wind chill advisory. Let's check in with Greg to get the latest on how long this is expected to last.
Well, we still got a few more days left of the bitter cold. In fact, we still got the alert day through at least tomorrow noon. We could actually still see some wind chill, probably below zero as we go into Wednesday, but all in all, it'll start to improve. As you look at the advisories, that's all till noon tomorrow. There's actually another one that's in place for Tuesday night going to Wednesday morning, and then the warning is further south. So we're still going to see the wind chills. Right now, current feel-like temperatures are all sub-zero. They're actually in the 20s as you go further south into Iowa, more open space where the wind's a little bit stronger. If you're sheltered, it's not that bad. You're looking at about -8 to -10. Bigger picture shows current temperatures. It's cold throughout the whole Midwest, well below zero as you go further west. So this air mass, pretty much you can see all that white is actually snow on the ground, not so much cloud cover. We have some clouds that are beginning to effect in the area, but all in all, it's really high pressure, Arctic high pressure that's in hold throughout the whole region, and that's what we'd be expecting, at least going through. So overall, temperatures are going to slowly fall down. The wind chills will decrease tonight too. The winds will be somewhat breezy. Once again, worse if you're in open country. Otherwise, Eau Claire as we go through -4 as we get down there with wind chills once again in the 20s below. So as we look ahead, we are seeing some improvement, but still a couple bitter nights ahead. But if you like warm temperatures, we have a big change potentially coming this time next week. We'll break that down a little bit later.
All right, thank you, Greg. La Crosse's day warming shelter will be open another day. The city announcing the extension as cold temperatures slam the region. The shelter is located at 621 3rd Street North and will be open tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. A reminder, the shelter is not open overnight. Rides will be given to the Catholic Charities Warming Center at 7 p.m. upon request. Well, it is caucus day in Iowa, the first major road test for presidential campaigns. Precincts across Iowa are now opening to registered voters. News 8 Now's Ken Kalzarowski joins us with the latest. Ken?
Emily, thanks very much. Good news, we are inside at one of these roughly 1,700 precincts across the state of Iowa. Bad news, the heat has actually broken something with the geothermal piping. So it's going to be a little chilly for voters who come here in the Lansing, Iowa area. But it's an interesting one. We knew Mother Nature was going to play a role in turnout. Pundits have been telling us that all week long. Also the fact that today's a holiday, some businesses have not been operating. So turnout could be lower than usual. We spoke to some organizers here in Lansing. They expect around 50 registered voters to be caucusing for the Republicans. We've seen a couple in just the last few minutes come into the visitor center and start to get registered and head downstairs for where the eventual secret ballot voting will be taking place. The people who do show up tonight, though, have the power to sway entire campaigns for the Republican candidates. Now, Iowa's former GOP chairman told some national outlets last week that the Iowa caucuses are basically a hobby for hardcore political activists. So for the candidates that are running for president, especially on the Republican side, the caucuses are all about trying to appeal to those diehard Republican voters. We spoke with UWL political scientist Anthony Chergosky. He says Iowa doesn't necessarily determine the nominee with tonight's caucuses, but it does narrow the field, and we've seen that already. Chris Christie, former governor of New Jersey, dropping out of the race. Vivek Ramaswamy in recent hot water with the Trump campaign. Trump taking to Truth Social, bashing Ramaswamy, not calling him MAGA enough. Former President Trump, of course, still leads likely GOP caucus goers around the 48 to 50% mark. Nikki Haley currently at 20%, and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis around 16%. And DeSantis has really made Iowa a do-or-die location for his campaign, pouring in plenty of resources. Haley has shifted her focus slightly more in favor of the New Hampshire caucuses, which will be coming up later this month, but not by any means has forgotten the state of Iowa. Now, Chergosky says that for both Haley and DeSantis, they're both right neck and neck for that second place spot. Tonight's final numbers are all going to be about that perception of exceeding or falling short of expectations.
If a candidate is seen as exceeding expectations, then that is a fantastic sign for their campaign. It can attract new financial contributors. It can attract new supporters for their campaign. If a candidate is seen as falling below expectations in Iowa, then that can be devastating for their campaign. We basically know that Donald Trump is going to win the Iowa caucuses, but does he exceed expectations or does he fall below them? We know that DeSantis and Haley are in a race for the second place spot. Will either of them exceed expectations or fall below expectations?
And to that end, Chergosky says if DeSantis finishes third tonight, it's essentially game over for his campaign. Meanwhile, if Trump overperforms, say around the 60% mark, that might signal the end of the campaigns for anyone not named Donald Trump. And of course, Trump has a ton of reasons to be confident, polling ahead nationally across the country by around the 60% margin. And just last week at a Fox News town hall, he said he's already decided on who his VP candidate is. So lots to think about there. You mentioned, you might notice, Emily, that I haven't mentioned the Democrat Party because they're effectively not caucusing. They are organizing across the state of Iowa, but not to really pick who's the favorite guy or gal in the race. Joe Biden, of course, the clear incumbent as the president. And as we've seen in recent election cycles, the caucus in Iowa doesn't necessarily determine who's going to win. And even for the Democrats specifically, 2020 had so many technical glitches. It was an almost nightmare for the party, where that's kind of why they've done away with the process. Pete Buttigieg and Bernie Sanders in 2020 both believing that they had won the Iowa caucuses. Neither, of course, went on to be president. Now, Trump, of course, did very well in the Iowa caucuses in 2020, but in 2016, it was actually Ted Cruz edging him out by 3 percentage points. So not necessarily predictive, but a good barometer for these candidates to see how their campaign is faring very early in the 2024 election cycle. We'll have more on the results coming up tonight at 10, but for now, live in Lansing, Iowa, I'm Ken Kozorowski for News 8 Now. Emily, back to you in the studio.
All right, thank you, Ken. Stay warm down there. La Crosse police are investigating a shots fired call. In a statement, authorities say they responded this weekend to shots fired near 1800 George Street. Shell casings were located during the investigation. A short time later, officers were notified of a victim with a non-life-threatening gunshot wound. Authorities learned an altercation happened before the victim was shot. The investigation is ongoing. Anyone with information is asked to contact Investigator Tolstad or the La Crosse Police Department. Those numbers are listed on the screen. We will also have them posted on our website. Marshfield Clinic Health System is furloughing some workers. In a statement sent to News 8 Now, a representative for the health system said 3% of the group's employees will be furloughed, mostly in non-patient seeing departments. The decision comes in response to rising supply and labor costs. The representative said, quote, "Providing health care in our rural geography comes with challenges, and it's imperative we think differently." He added it's vital to use, quote, "staffing resources as efficiently and effectively as possible to make sure resources are used where they are most needed." My Energy Cooperative is asking its members to use less electricity. The co-op issuing a peak alert due to a predicted high demand for electricity on the regional grid. It's asking members to try and conserve electricity today. The company says during a peak alert, elevated demand leads to higher power costs. To help keep your rates stable, members can conserve electricity by lowering the thermostat to 68 degrees, waiting to do laundry or run the dishwasher, or refraining from turning on TVs and gaming systems. More than 100 million Americans are under a freeze warning, including Wisconsinites. The Arctic blast is impacting everyone, including our furry little friends. Veterinarians are encouraging people to pay extra attention to their pets during this cold weather. News 8 Now's Jeremy Wall is learning what they should do. Jeremy?
Emily, earlier I spoke with Dr. Douglas Kratt about recommendations to keep pets safe. He says whether your dogs or cats are indoor or outdoor animals, they'll need more care during this weather.
Humans are not the only ones who need to be careful during this week's cold snap. Just like their owners, pets are also at risk.
If they're indoor pets, you need to be with them, go out with them. Or if the dogs go outside because they have a pen area that they can go in, Keep your hand on the doorknob so you don't forget.
Kratz says anyone with outdoor pets should keep extra food, a clean bowl of water, and a dry doghouse. He also recommends taking extra caution when bringing them inside.
And we don't necessarily want to pop them up by the fireplace because they can't get rid of that, their big third taken care of. But as with anything, exposed parts of the skin, so their ear tips can potentially get frostbite. Parts of the tail can get frostbite. If they're a breed that's not meant to be outside, they're going to get cold and they're going to get hypothermic just like we would.
That's why the Cooley Region Humane Society is reducing the amount of time they keep their dogs outside. According to its animal control supervisor, the frigid weather has caused them to reduce dog walks.
Typically they'll go for 20-minute, half-hour, even longer walks around the area here. But when it's the wind chill of minus 20, 25 below zero, we really limit them to only out to the bathroom and back in.
Heated water dishes are also a good idea for dogs. Kasakitis suggests using plastic dishes as metal ones will freeze quicker and could cause your pet's gums or tongues to stick to them. Emily.
All right, those are great tips. Thank you, Jeremy. Today, Viterbo University held a celebration of life for Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. at their Fine Arts Center. Students gathered in bunches as the celebration started with a prayer service, then transitioned to UWL public historian Dr. Ariel Bojo speaking on the Hear Here Project, a social justice project that lifts the stories of marginalized groups in La Crosse's history. Dr. Melissa Murray explains why this day is important for the city of La Crosse.
I think especially important in a predominantly white community to be able to understand and hear the voices and perspectives of people that are different from us, and to understand the value in the diversity that they bring in total to the community.
At 7 p.m., Viterbo will also be holding an awards ceremony to present the 2024 MLK Leadership Award. We will have more on that at 10. When we come back, 3 migrants are dead after trying to cross the U.S.-Mexico border. Why federal and state officials are at odds over what happened. "100 days have passed since Hamas attacked Israel, triggering the ongoing war. It's the deadliest and most destructive conflict between Israelis and Palestinians in history. Hamas's brutal attack on October 7th triggered the war. Militants stormed into Israel, killing more than 1,200 people and seizing roughly 250 hostages, including children and the elderly.
It's 100 days of absolute torture and torment for the families who are waiting.
Israel launched an on-air and ground assault on Gaza with troops storming cities, fighting militants, and searching for tunnels. The Hamas-run Ministry of Health says more than 24,000 Palestinians have been killed. During a ceasefire in November, Hamas released more than 100 hostages in exchange for more than 200 Palestinian prisoners from Israeli jails. Pressure is building on Israel to wrap up the war, but Israel vows to continue the fight until Hamas is destroyed and the hostages returned home. In Texas, the deaths of 3 migrants are adding more fuel to a border dispute between state and federal officials. The Biden administration says authorities in the state physically barred Border Patrol agents from trying to save a woman and 2 children who drowned near the site. Border Patrol had been using the site to process migrants, but Texas Governor Greg Abbott deployed National Guard soldiers to the public park, intensifying a feud between state and federal officials over U.S. border policy.
The president might have to take executive actions, declaring a crisis, national crisis, at the border, and do what needs to be done to shut that border down and secure it until we can get a handle, or until the legislature can come to an agreement.
Texas officials claim the migrants had already drowned when Border Patrol requested access, but the Biden administration is demanding the state remove all barriers to the park by Wednesday. The White House says the DOJ will consider all other options available to restore Border Patrol access there if Texas does not comply. Raising awareness about an odorless, colorless gas that can go undetected. We'll explain how you can protect yourself from radon.
Yeah, the temperatures finally bottomed out well below average after we saw an extended period of above average, but this cycle is actually not going to last too long. I'll break down when we might see those temperatures come above average. If we got any rain or snow in the forecast, that all coming up on your First Warn Weather Update after the break.
Thank you for watching News 8 Now. Expect more.
Radon is the leading cause of lung cancer for non-smokers, according to the American Lung Association. But many people are not fully aware of the dangers. Radon is an odorless, colorless, and radioactive gas that is naturally released from rocks, soil, and water. Radon levels are usually higher in homes during the winter months when temperatures freeze the ground, trapping the gas in the soil. It's estimated that radon causes about 21,000 lung cancer deaths in the United States each year. The CDC recommends testing your home if it's never been or if radon levels are unknown. You should also test for radon if you are buying or selling a home before and after any renovations or if you spend time in the basement. At-home tests cost $10 to $12 and can be purchased at the hardware store. Well, that's definitely something to check on, especially during the winter months, as the story mentioned. Let's also get to checking on the advisory we are under and when we should be climbing out of it. Let's send it over to Greg.
Yeah, we're going to be climbing out of it. Probably by this time next week, it'll be a totally different story. But in the meantime, we still got the dangerous cold. The alert days through tomorrow noon. We still could see below wind chills beyond that period. Big picture shows the cold air pretty much north of the Rockies, but out west, it's a different story. But so far, we're starting to see some signs of an improvement, some changes coming, but it's still probably about another 36 hours till we'll really start seeing things. Overall, everything is pushed south. There's just a little bit of activity up to the north, rotating down. We are going to see some of that, eventually see another front come through. But in the meantime, through tomorrow, through Wednesday, really not much change. We have some cloud cover rotating through that low that's up to the north. Eventually by Thursday and Wednesday, Thursday, we moderate the temperatures a little bit before we do have one more push of cold air coming down, and that'll change things a little bit just for a couple days. Wind chills we're looking at for tonight, still getting below about 20 to 30 below. Tomorrow, even during the day, we'll still look at 10 to 15, maybe a little bit colder. That west wind picks up, although the temperature's a little bit warmer tomorrow. And then tomorrow night, the wind chill will go back down to probably around the 20 degree, minus 20 once again. So we still got a couple cold nights. Not as bad as you get into Wednesday morning, but still we're going to see below wind chills, not quite advisory level like we have right now. After we get through that, then we're going to have that front come down. So then Friday into Saturday, with the front coming down, that's going to be a cold period to watch too. But things change after Saturday afternoon. We start seeing the pattern as you look out west, start to come out from the south. We're going to see that eventually push over the areas. So Sunday will probably be the first day you'll start seeing temperatures closer to average, mid-20s. And then time we get to Monday, we're going to start seeing the winds turn around from the south, as you can see right there. All the pattern begins to lift to the north. That's a sign that we're going to start warming up. Now, how warm we're going to get, there's a lot of factors involved with a lot of snowpack on the ground here. That'll play a part in how how far we get warmed up into the 30s here as we go into Sunday and Monday. Unfortunately, with that comes the next probably rain or snow chance, at least the most significant one, and that's by Monday, Tuesday. When that starts coming up, unfortunately, this means we could be on the rain side regarding temperatures. So there's a lot of details to be worked out as we get to Monday into Tuesday, but that's what we're going to see the pattern change begin to come back to where we should be at least closer to freezing or closer to 40, depending on how things play out. But it might mean we also see some rain coming with it too. So a lot that to play out. You can see that in the temperatures right now. You can see all the blue through Thursday. We're going to see that continuing, but it's a little bit of an improvement here. Then we have that front come through. We'll start seeing the coldest period probably Friday into Saturday morning after that front comes through. But then notice the temperatures of the west. So you're starting to see the pink starting to show up the red. That means temperatures are going above average, and that's going to start spreading across the area. Really, as the whole country kind of shifts the pattern now to more southerly winds. So Monday, Tuesday, we should start seeing temperatures back at least above average. You can see that in the 8-day forecast as we go through. We're going to have some cold periods, especially going into Saturday morning, and the temperatures could get once again in the teens below zero, and that can involve a little bit of wind chill behind a front. We might even see a little bit of flurry activity going into Friday and Saturday, but not expecting much in the way of snow. But then notice that there afterwards, we start getting the 20s, the 30s, and potentially maybe higher. but that also comes with rain and snow chance too. So
Yeah, but it's sunny for the most part of this week, though.
yeah, it's quiet and
Yeah.
calm. That's the good thing. We're not going to deal any travel issues. It's just going to be cold for a while,
Right.
but then we're going to kind of break out of it. So we'll track what goes on next Monday, Tuesday. But once again, still some dangerous wind chills out there for at least the next day, day and a half.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Well, coming up in sports, more on the Green Bay Packers' big win over the Cowboys. And the latest AP poll is here. Find out where the Wisconsin Badgers land. Kate Overton is in next with sports.
Covering all of the exciting action from your community. Here's News 8 Now Sports with Kate Overton.
Today, Packer fans woke up with a huge smile on their face after Green Bay went down to Dallas and dominated the Cowboys in a huge upset win. But not only that, Jordan Love showed up and was the best player on the field. Love was about as good as you could be in the playoffs, going 16 of 21 for 272 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Love is the first Packer QB to lead the team to a playoff win in his first season as the main starter. And the Packers saw something in Love that not everyone could see when they first drafted him, and now he's got the attention of the entire nation.
It just shows the growth that he's had from his first start versus KC to now. Just so proud and happy for him. He's a dude. He is a real dude.
You also got to give credit to the Packers defense. They went down to Dallas and shut down an offense that had won 16 straight home games. They were locked in from the very beginning and came up with a bunch of clutch plays.
Man, we needed that. We needed that spunk. We needed to quiet the crowd down. And, when we get interceptions, that's always going to do it, and especially the pick six with Sav. So, yep, we needed that.
Well, they're going to need it again next week, as now they have to face the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners are averaging just under 400 yards of offense a game and have weapons at almost every position on the team. But if the Packers come ready to play like they did yesterday, then anything can happen. This one's set for 7 p.m. next Saturday. All right, the latest AP college basketball poll has been released. The Badgers came in just outside of the top 10, sitting at 11. It was another 2-0 week for Wisconsin as they took down Ohio State and Northwestern. Badgers are 5-0 in Big Ten play, 13-3 overall. They'll be in action tomorrow night as they travel to take on Penn State. And I know yesterday's main focus was on the Green Bay Packers, but a quick rewind to last night's Bucs game, hosting the Kings, down 4 with 15 seconds left in overtime, but Brook Lopez cashes the corner 3, pulls Milwaukee within 1. Then after a Kings missed free throw, Bucks down 2 with 5 seconds left. And Dame hits the buzzer beater 3-pointer to give the Bucks the win, 143-142. Lillard had a team high of 29 points, and that win moves the Bucks to 28-12 on the season. All right, we've got a couple of local games on the schedule for tonight, including Central versus Logan girls basketball. But that's all for sports for right now. We'll be right back.
All right, we're looking at wind chill and temps tomorrow. You can see still 20 below wind chills, but there is some improvement tomorrow. Still, we're only going to get above a few degrees above the single digits there. Otherwise, cold through Friday or Saturday morning, kind of a drop off with the temperatures once again, although we do hit the teens Wednesday and Thursday, so it's a warm up.
Yeah.
No kidding. But then we get a bigger warm up next week.
Okay, looking forward to that. All right, we'll see you at 10.